My best friend's favorite food is French onion soup. And if you have ever made French onion soup, you know it is a laborious process. But after a breakup many years ago, my friend was feeling down, and her dad decided, I am going to make my daughter her favorite meal. He went to the butcher, got beef marrow bones, and he made the broth from scratch. He caramelized 5 or 6 pounds of onions. He shredded 3 types of cheese for the perfect blend. He deglazed, he simmered, he adjusted. It took him all day. Finally, we sat down for dinner. We marveled, this really is great soup. Thanks, Dad, my friend said softly, and he beamed. After we finished dinner, my friend's parents went upstairs, and she and I stayed in the kitchen talking. Eventually, the conversation circled back to her newly ex-boyfriend, and her eyes filled with tears. Just then, her dad walked back into the kitchen to get a glass of water, and he saw his daughter's tear-stricken face, and he exclaimed, "You're still sad?" "Well, yeah," she said. "The soup didn't work?" he asked, surprised. When people we love are in pain, we want to fix things for them. And sometimes that means spending 8 hours making French onion soup from scratch. And sometimes that means we give advice or try to distract someone from their sorrows. But often, there's really nothing we can do. Jacob loved Rachel, no doubt. The Torah says so explicitly 3 times. Yes, Jacob loved Rachel. But he did not handle her suffering well. In last week's Torah reading, Rachel struggled with infertility. You can see Genesis chapter 30. And in anguish and in anger, Rachel cried to Jacob, "Hava li vanim ve'im ayin meta anochi." Give me children, or I will die. Rachel is grief-stricken, jealous of her fertile sister, mourning her own barrenness. Maybe her words are manipulative, or maybe Rachel truly fears that sadness will consume her. We don't know. And how does Jacob respond? Vayichar af Yaakov berachel. Jacob burned with anger at Rachel. And he said to her, "Can I take the place of God who has denied you fruit of the womb?" In other words, Jacob says, "Why are you complaining to me? It's God who's withheld children from you, not me." Jacob views Rachel's expression of grief as an insult. And it is true that her words are sharp. Our sages criticize her language. The 12th century commentator David Kimchi, the Radak, writes, "Rachel was rude in saying, 'Give me children or I will die.' She should rather have asked Jacob, 'Beg mercy for me,' or pray to God on my behalf. If she had only used these words, Jacob would have responded constructively." Yes, it would have been better if Rachel had selected gentler words for her husband. But that strikes me as an unrealistic expectation of someone in the throes of lacerating pain. When we are in anguish, we are rarely our best selves. Our words come out wrong. We're tense, short-tempered, irritable. And when we love someone who is suffering, we ought not allow ourselves to be their punching bags, but we can choose grace. We can remember that they are in anguish, and we can remember that we love them before reacting to their imperfect behavior. We can remind ourselves that their expression of pain is not an insult. Jacob struggled with this. Perhaps because he felt responsible for protecting his family from pain. So many of us do. When the people closest to us face hardships, our sadness for them often mixes with disappointment at ourselves. We were not able to prevent this. We are not able to fix this. We feel misplaced responsibility, which turns into disappointment at ourselves. And such disappointment can ossify into defensiveness. I wonder if that's what happened to Jacob. He loved Rachel, but he didn't know how to respond to her grief. And I don't think he ever learned how to respond to her suffering. Because flash forward to this week's Torah portion, Parashat Vayishlach, Genesis chapter 35, verse 16. Now, Rachel is giving birth to her second son. The labor is hard, and it will kill her. With her last breath, she gives her newborn son a name, Ben-Oni. And what does Ben-Oni mean? Ben is son. That part is straightforward. But the Hebrew word aleph vav nun has two very different meanings depending on how it's vowelized. Aven means sorrow or affliction. And most of our traditional commentators read the name that way, understanding Ben-Oni to mean son of my sorrow. But aleph vav nun can also be vowelized to own, vigor or strength. So Ben-Oni can also mean son of my strength, as Nachmanides points out. In naming her son Ben-Oni, maybe Rachel meant son of my sorrow, or maybe she meant son of my strength, or maybe she meant both. Indeed, her life was one of both sorrow and strength. But Rachel's son does not get to keep the name that she gives him. We read, as Rachel breathed her last, for she was dying, she named him Ben-Oni, but his father called him Benjamin. Thus Rachel died. This verse breaks my heart. Jacob changes Ben-Oni's name, the one thing Rachel gave her son before she died. No longer Ben-Oni, but Benjamin, the son of my right hand. Jacob was not involved at all in naming his first 12 children. Leah named Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Dinah, and Rachel named Dan, Naphtali, and Joseph. Jacob only involves himself with this one name. It appears he has unique distaste for the name Ben-Oni, perhaps because it is a reminder that his beloved Rachel's life had complications and sorrows. And so he overrides her name choice for their son. Our classic commentators, male as they are, seem not to share my emotional reaction to Ben-Oni's name change. The Women's Torah commentary notes, perhaps Jacob is changing Rachel's sense of the futility of her life into an affirmation of her importance to Jacob as his favorite wife. I think this is right, but this also frustrates me, because Rachel's life had meaning besides being Jacob's favorite wife. Years earlier, Jacob was defensive when witnessing Rachel's pain, leading him to snap at her. Now, Jacob is in denial about the complications of her life, trying to build a simpler, positive narrative. Defensiveness and denial, two common responses to seeing someone we love in pain. How might we do better? Maybe we start by making them soup. Soup doesn't fix sadness, not really, but the hours we spent making it and sharing it helps people to feel loved. When people are in the depths of grief, the deepest pain, all we can really offer is our presence. All we can really do is sit with them in the pit, letting them know that we will remain by their side despite the darkness that surrounds them. We are not responsible for protecting our loved ones from all of the pain that life will surely hand them. It can be unbearable to watch people we love suffer, but when we truly love someone, we must bear it. We must offer accompaniment without solutions. May we accompany one another in times of sorrow, even when soup and a listening ear feels like a paltry offering against the enormity of grief. The value of accompaniment may yet surprise us. Shabbat Shalom.